knowing that it would be a good idea to include some sort of cardiovascular training, how can you incorporate some sort of cardiovascular training with it having a negative impact on your body?
This is the kind of the way, I look at it, because when I was focused on bodybuilding, I wasn't focused on just bodybuilding so I could get bigger. At least when I left soccer, I was focused on bodybuilding because I wanted to compete. So everything was like, everything was focused on that. But even so, I think that if I were to go back and make certain adjustments, I would do something like maybe running like once or twice a week, just so I could keep that ability while focusing on building muscle. Because the only thing that would need to be adjusted is just eat more. Eat more and give myself a few weeks to adjust the fatigue of doing a little bit of running. And again, nothing at like super crazy miles, but just to be able to keep the ability of running. Because, years later, when I tried to pick up running, shit's tough. I can't run like I used to. I will be able to, but it's going to take me a long time to regain that. And if I kept that after I kept playing soccer, after I stopped playing soccer, if I just kept a little bit, twice a week, a few miles, along with the lifting, I would have still been able to get the same amount of muscle or potentially more. So, I think a concept that anybody could take away there is, I think that if you're trying to either get as strong as possible or gain as much muscle as possible, an assumption that we probably all had when we were younger is that cardio is going to take away from it, right? So, Mark, you mentioned doing something like the elliptical. I would have done at least 2 different modes of training, where I had a mode where it's focusing on strength, and then I had another thing where I have some kind of cardio focus. I discovered that when I was 23 when I started jiu-jitsu, because I was still doing powerlifting and bodybuilding style training when I started doing jiu-jitsu. And for a little bit, jiu-jitsu took away from what I was able to do in the gym. But after I was able to adapt to the stress of jiu-jitsu, and it, like we talked about, Matt Wenning talked about, all these people talk about, it takes time.
And some of what you did in the gym may have taken away from your jiu-jitsu in the beginning until your body got mobile, flexible enough. You had to do more mobility work on top of jiu-jitsu, not just jiu-jitsu. You were stretching a lot, I think, when you first got into jiu-jitsu, right?
Yeah. I started doing a lot of mobility work because I was like, to be able to move like those, to be able to move like the little guys that have really good technique.
Your bodybuilding career in some way.
Exactly. But also, if when I was focusing on training for building muscle when I was younger, if I did everything at a pretty big range of motion, and kind of like you also mentioned, try to figure out ways where the whole body can work together. So I still do those isolation movements. I still do my shoulder presses. I still do some of that, but I also do movements that put me into a long range, like some of the stuff that you're seeing in cable in terms of the chest flies out here, deep knee flexion in terms of certain types of squats, bending in the spine when doing certain types of movements. So my spine has that capacity. If I did those things, there would be less trying to adjust when getting better at jiu-jitsu. I wouldn't need as much mobility training and all the things that I've been doing. Power Project family, how's it going? So no matter what diet you're on or no matter what supplements you take, it's necessary as you get older to know what's going on under the hood. That's why I've partnered with Merrick Health. They're the premium telehealth clinic owned by Derek from More Plates, More Dates. And we have a panel that will allow you to get all of your labs done and checked in a super easy fashion. Andrew, how can they get it?
Yeah, you guys got to head over to merrickhealth.com/powerproject. That's MAREK health.com/powerproject. And at checkout, enter promo code PowerProject to save $101 off of this comprehensive panel. Links to them down in the description, as well as the podcast show notes.
To unwind all that training. And these could have been, I truly think that these could have been involved at the time, right? I would have gotten to the same amount of muscle and the same amount of strength. It's just a few additions. Another thing that any fucking buddy can do right now is working on your feet. Like, we're doing all this stuff for our feet now to adjust years of wearing the wrong shoes, not working barefoot, all these things. But if you just fucking, Mark has like the toe splay thing here. He has the Neuro Ball from Naboso right here. If you guys want to grab that, the link's in the description. I have the Neuro Ball underneath my feet and fucking toe spreaders. I don't know if they can see this.
Yeah, a little bit.
Right? I have my correct toe spreaders on right here to help bring spread back to my feet. And I notice I was talking to Matt Wenning about this, but I notice how well I move now during jiu-jitsu just because my feet are more aware of what my body's doing in space. I'm doing a lot of wild shit. And this is something that you can do passively while you're at work. You know what I mean? These aren't crazy adjustments. These are just small little additions that can play big dividends in the long run. So a lot of these things don't need to take away from your muscle building. Running doesn't have to take away from your muscle building. Jiu-jitsu doesn't need it to be taken away from your muscle building if it's something you're interested in. And lastly, I don't want to ramble on for too long, but I think one big concept is really thinking about what your long-term goal is. Because a lot of people train with bodybuilding in mind to build muscle. A lot of people train with strength in mind as far as powerlifting is concerned. But truly ask yourself, are you trying to become one of the best in the sport? Really, really trying to compete against the best? Or are you doing it because, you enjoy it and it's your hobby? If you're doing it because most of us are doing this because we enjoy it and it's our hobby, then how about adding in some things that are going to help you live better, live more comfortable, move better? That won't, maybe you won't get to your direct goals in that hobby as quickly, but in the long run, you're going to move better, you're going to feel better. Unless you're trying to become one of the best in the world, where maybe running is really going to take away from your 800, 900 pound squat, maybe it's worth it to do a little bit of running or something else that allows you to move better.
I always think it's a good idea to look at stuff like knowing that it would be a good idea to include some sort of cardiovascular training. How can you incorporate some sort of cardiovascular training with it having a net negative or net zero negative impact on your body? So when you start to kind of think about it that way, you might be able to use like an Aerodyne bike of some sort. Like you have a cyclical thing where your legs are moving. 10, 20 minutes isn't going to kill you. If, sitting on the seat for too long bugs you, you can stand up and pump your legs a little differently. I was just messing around with the one we have in the gym, and I did 1 minute at over 500 watts. And it's like, I've just been messing with that, and it fucking kills. It's a killer. It feels different to me than running, but the impact of some things, they're just, it's going to be less detrimental to you. If you're somebody that is, working on bodybuilding and you're trying to build big shoulders and you try the old school behind the neck press and it bothers your neck and your shoulders, find another exercise. How can you get a similar result? Are there people that have big shoulders that don't do that movement?
Peeps, we love bringing you all this fitness information, and we also want to help bring that information to more people. So if you could help us out, hit that red subscribe button and then hit the notification bell, and we'll continue to bring you the heat. And I won't whisper in your ear. Talk to you guys later.